Welcome to the 41st episode of Lalitha Sahasranam Stotra. The 1,000 ways in which the faculties of intellect, discretion, personality or ego and the mind can acquire the qualities of the witness mode operation through the unification of southbound forces. So that is the essence of Lalitha Sahasranam Stotra. In other words, the training received by the northbound forces through the unification of the southbound forces, and this unification will teach the faculties to operate in a witness mode. Through the operation of by operating in the witness mode, the hidden potential, the energy of the unconditional source in the universe can be tapped. And that is the essence of Lalitha Sahasranam Stotra. So let us move on. The next nama is Brahmopendra Mahendra Adi Deva Samstuta Vaibhava. Brahmopendra Mahendra Adi Deva Samstuta Vaibhava. This is one sloka and one nama. The stature of Universal Mother is glorified, is praised by the divine forces led by Brahma, and these divine forces are Brahma, Upendra, Mahendra, etc. etc. So this is the aftermath of the completion of the mission termination Bhandasura, the inertial form of demonic force. So here we have to understand who is Indra, Mahendra, and why they are praising the Universal Mother. So obviously they would have got benefited, that's why they are praising. So in the strategy laid out by the Universal Mother towards accomplishing the mission termination Bhandasura, so there are about 17 steps were being covered, and so in the end it has become Sunya or zero. So prior to that, when Bhandasura, the inertial form of demonic force, was operating, there was a lopsided world within the Bhandasura. The divine forces were turned upside down, and the sages, the witness mode operating elements were also been forced to transform into demonic form. So that means those who are supposed to operate in the positive energy, positive polarity, and those who are supposed to operate in the neutral terrain, both these are being transformed into negative terrain. So the whole scenario is being transformed to negative terrain, and what is supposed to be heavy is become light. What is supposed to be heavy is operating in the light terrain, and what is supposed to be light is operating in the heavy terrain. So this was the situation that was aggravated through the acts of Bandasura. So here we have brought in the concept of the polarities of positive and negative. So hence we think we can address this through a simple example. In a human body there is a pH that that is an indicative of the extent of acidic nature and basic nature. So pH 7 is ideal, that is a neutral status, but it is impossible for anybody to operate in 7. Any action or karma acharana that human being does perform, there will be a deviation around this value 7. So that is acceptable. If there is a slight deviation around 7, 6.9 to 7.01, that is acceptable. So that way, more or less, the individual is operating in neutral terrain, and that is the best way to lead the life, like a lotus flower. But if there's a large swing around the mean value of 7, that's where the resources are being emptied or depleted. So therefore it clearly reflects that the best way to lead life is to operate close to the neutral terrain, a slight perturbation around the neutral level is what is the prescribed lifestyle for human beings. So in this context, the positive terrain, positive polarity refers to the divine elements, and negative polarity refers to the demonic elements. So in the action cycle, so the soul directive from the soul to the faculties, and from the faculties it goes to the senses, action is done, and from senses again back to the faculties and to the soul. So that is the cycle. So in the action cycle, the senses are in the at the end of the chain. So Indra here means Brahmopendra Mahendradi Devasamsada Vaibhava. Indra means the senses. So the Indra means the senses that includes the faculties as well as the 5 senses. But since the senses are at the end of the chain of the karma acharana or action, so Indra refers to the energy proportion of the soul that is being given to the senses. So the soul energy has proportion, or has its proportion in each of the faculties, the 4 faculties as well as the 5 senses. So Indra is the energy proportion of the soul in the senses, 5 senses. Through this energy form, the senses perform the action or karma acharana. So therefore the Indra is the representation of the 5 senses. And prior to the demolition of the Bhandasura, this Indra was being used towards the negative polarity operation. So the senses have been forced to operate in the negative, towards negative energy, karmacharana. So they got deprived of the positive energy, obviously. So after the re-establishing the inner dynamics, now there is a need for the senses to go back to the positive terrain so that the neutrality can be established. So, as a token of appreciation, so Indra, who represents the senses, is praising the Universal Mother. So similarly, there are other forms like Surendra. Surendra meaning when these indriyas or senses are used towards the divine operation, positive energy, the constructive activity. Positive energy means constructive activity. Then it is Surendra. And Upendra, Upa means in close proximity to Indras. So what is close proximity to the Indra? The senses, the faculties are in close proximity to the Indra, the senses. So therefore, the faculties as well as the senses and Brahma is the Brahma grandhi. That's where the origin of all the actions takes place. So therefore, Brahma grandhi the representation of the senses and the representation of faculties, as well as Mahendradi. Mahendra means Indra means the proportion of the energy, soul energy that is given to the senses. So Mahendra means proportion of all such accumulation of all such proportions. So it essentially reflects to a super soul presence in the body. The super soul presence in the body is the Vishnu. So therefore, Brahmopendra Mahendradi refers to the Brahma grandhi, the faculties, the senses, and the Vishnu grandhi in the body. Okay, so usually the karmacharana or action is, when it is soul connected, initiated by the soul, reaches to the Brahma grandhi, from there to the faculties, and then the senses. So Brahma grandhi is the birthplace of the karmacharana action. And then once the karmacharana action is completed, so this communication that it is completed is it reaches Rudra grandhi. That's a termination. So once the Rudra grandhi, it reaches the Rudra grandhi, then the next karmacharana or action takes birth in Brahma grandhi. But in the case of Bhandasura, this communication between Rudra grandhi and Brahma grandhi was cut off. So this cycle was cut off. So therefore, because he has taken control of these three grandhis and accumulated garbage in that. So we have discussed all that in the 17-step execution. So now this communication between a Brahma Grandhi and Rudra Grandhi was re-established. So the Karmacharana action is taking place in the normal cycle of operation. Now the divine forces within the body knew how to operate close to neutrality, the small swing around the neutral region. So because of that, the re-establishing the balance in the body, and Universal Mother is the cause for that. So the Brahma Grandhi, Vishnu Grandhi, the faculties, senses are prizing the glory of Universal Mother, that is Brahma, Upendra, Mahendradi, Deva Samstha, Vaibhava. So this was the first step that happened after the termination of Bandasara, the inertial force in the body. So through this Nama, Brahma, Upendra, Mahendra, Deva Samstha, Vaibhava, the personality or ego of Brahma, Indra, Upendra and Mahendra are being reflected. So hence the faculty of personality gets the training through this Nama. The next Nama is Haranetra Agni Sandagdha Kama Sanjeevan Aushadhihi. Haranetra Agni Sandagdha Kama Sanjeevan Aushadhihi. The Cupid, the Manmadha, who has been burned to ashes through the fire originated from the eyes of Hara, so that Manmadha has been given fresh lease of life through a unique medicine that is called Sanjeevan Aushadhihi, that is re-establishing the life force in the dead body, that is Sanjeevan Aushadhihi. This is given by the Universal Mother. So here so the who is Manmadha. So there in the Kameshwara, the Universal Father, we have discussed that he is beyond desires, and so he can control the desires, that is Kameshwara. But the one who is within the body, operating within the body through the senses and faculties, giving rise to desires, is the Kama, is the Manmadha, is the Cupid. So he's been, why was he burned to ashes, and who is Hara in this Nama, and what is this medicine that can bring life force in the dead body. So let us try to understand these aspects. So right in the beginning, when the inner universe was operating in normal conditions, when the individual is enlightened and operating like a lotus, the Manorupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka. The mind is like Kodanda, like a bow, and the arrows that emanated from this Kodanda or mind are the five senses. So it was there was so much of collaboration between the faculties and the senses when operated in a witness mode like a lotus flower. So when the Kamacharana action that took place in these conditions, when the action was completed, the termination happened in the Rudra Grandhi, and the communication reached Brahma Grandhi. Immediately the next action took place in Brahma Grandhi, and the soul was being kept in the loop. So this was a very orderly state, and mind has taken the shape of Kodanda, and the Kodanda is controlled by Manmatha, the Cupid. So there was a love and affection, the spread of love and affection in this state. So even Bhandasura was also being nurtured in this form, like a lotus flower. But unfortunately, he has misused the resources, gone into the overdraft situation, and drifted away from the lotus state, and the communication between Brahma Grandhi and Rudra Grandhi got cut off in the process. So therefore the action cycle that is supposed to start from the soul to Brahma, to Brahma Grandhi, to Vishnu Grandhi, through faculties and the senses, the action gets completed. This communication sent to Rudra Grandhi, from there to Brahma Grandhi, from there to Vishnu Grandhi, and back to Brahma Grandhi, and back to Brahma and to the soul. So this is the cycle. So this was being cut off. So in this state, the Manmatha, the Cupid, what is he supposed to do? Who is the originator of the desires in the senses? So when the cycle is broken, what is Manmatha supposed to? He has no role. So then he identified that the reason for this is that the termination of the action is not going to the Rudra Grandhi, so the communication is not going to the Brahma Grandhi through the Vishnu Grandhi. So he identified Rudra Grandhi is the place where he has to approach, and he identified Rudra Grandhi plays a key role. And hence the bow that he was carrying, the Kodanda, so he shot an arrow to Rudra Grandhi, thinking that he can communicate to the Rudra Grandhi directly that you are being kept out of this loop. And in the process, the Rudra in the Rudra Grandhi has opened his eyes and burnt Manmada to ashes. So many people have misinterpreted this Nama, that saying that Rudra got angry on Manmadha, and then he burned Manmadha to ashes. Actually, that's not what happened. It is because the cycle got distorted, cycle got disturbed, cycle got broken. So Manmadha, who is the head of the senses, the desires that originates in the senses, were kept out of the loop, and Manmada identified Rudra Gandhi's important, crucial role in the whole cycle, and he shot an arrow to Rudra Gandhi, reminding Rudra Gandhi that you are being kept out of the loop. So it is a kind of corrective action taken by the Manmada, not disturbing the Rudra Gandhi. So as Pandits point out, but Rudra Gandhi, when he the Rudra in Rudra Gandhi, when he wakes up, his eyes are filled with fire. So the Cupid or Manmada got burnt. So that this is what happened in Bandasura. The Manmada got terminated in Rudra Grandhi. So that is the story about this Manmatha and the who is heading the kama or desires for the senses. Now who is Hara here? Hara netragni sandagda kama sanjeevan aushadhi. Hara means the extraction, the entity that extracts. So Hara does not always mean Shiva. For example, the entity that extracts the life force at the time of the death is Yama. So between the breath cycle, between the breathing and breathing in, breathing out, the middle of that, the midpoint of that, which is very hard to point out, which you pinpoint. So the midpoint of that is the presence of Shiva, who is in meditation, ever meditation pose in that midpoint. So therefore, so when Yama extracts the life force, so he extracts along with him, he extracts the Shiva, who is residing in the middle of this breathing in, breathing out. And so he extracts this life force and then terminates that into Rudra Grandhi. That is what is Hara. So therefore, so to re-establish, after the termination of the Bhandasura, to re-establish the entire cycle, initially the divine forces have praised the role of the Universal Mother through Brahmopendra Mahendra Deva Samstha Vaibhava. Now the senses have to come into the full force. So that means the Cupid or Manmada has to appear again. The energy form of the Cupid or Manmada has to go back to the state of Manorupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka, where he carries the bow of Kodanda and use the five senses in collaboration with the five arrows, the five senses in perfect harmony with the mind as five arrows. So he needs to get the life force back into his form, his entity. So that life force, injection of the life force into this Cupid Manmadha is Haranetragni Sandagdha Kama Sanjeevana Aushadhihi. So through this Nama, the Manmadha, who is heading the five senses, gets back his true form. And how he gets back his true form? He gets the nourishment from Sri Mata, Sri Maharagni, Srimad Simhasaneswari till Manorupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka. And so in the process, again the faculties were reset, and all that has happened, that is Chitaknikunda Sangmuhuta Devakari Samujjata, Ujjadpan Sahasra, all that happened. And in order for that to happen, the Manmadha was praying Universal Mother. So one big mistake that has happened through the inertial form of demonic force, that is Bandhasura. So again the time was reset to the back, and the nourishment has happened from the beginning again. Srimata Srimaharagni to Ragni Srimad Simhasaneswari to Maror Pakshakodanda. And so this is the medicine to bring back life in the dead body. So through this process, the Manmadha or the Cupid got a second life, and now the entire cycle is operating normally. The Kamacharana action taking place, terminating in Rudra Grandhi. The Manmada is in collaboration, in harmony with the five senses. The faculties in harmony with the five senses, and faculties in harmony with the Brahma Grandhi in harmony with the soul. So everything is happening normally. So this is called Mruta Sanjeevini Vidya, and that is the essence of this Nama, Haranetragni Sandagda Kama Sanjeevanoshadhihi. Through this Nama, the ability to give life, to inject life force into Manmadha, the Cupid, and hence the harmony, establishing harmony between the five senses and the Cupid. So to establish this procedure, whatever is training required, that training is being imparted in this Nama. Hence the faculty of mind receives the training through Haranetragni Sandagda Kama Sanjeevanoshadhihi. Faculty of mind to get to the shape of Manmadha. What is the training required? That training is imparted in this Nama, Haranetragni Sandagda Kama Sanjeevanoshadhihi. So the remaining Namas we will discuss in the next episode. Thank you.